Stone is our guest, former head of the Trump campaign, InfoWars correspondent, doing a great job for the balance of the hour. He wants to get into White House shakeup. It was about 3 weeks ago that I broke from my sources, and Roger also has his, that a big shakeup is coming. Now Washington Post, New York Times, and others who are normally fake news are saying that the shakeup is exactly like we said it was over the leaks. Not the Russia thing, but the fake leaks. They're putting out disinfo claiming that they're, reporting on crimes that the president is committing. Also, the president promised to pull us out of the global climate deal. It's only a global carbon tax that Zuckerberg and others are pushing. And now Merkel and others are flipping out. Reportedly, Trump told them personally that is the case. So Roger Stone's got information on that front as well. But it seems like this foreign trip really did well for Trump and is really freaking out a lot of his detractors. And it seems like, despite the fact they've driven his polls down artificially, they're going back up, and that's sending shockwaves through the establishment. It seems like we've hit a Russia fatigue moment, and I'm seeing major cracks in the power structure's facade, or is that delusional?
Well, Alex, first of all, I think the smug, arrogant European leaders, those in the globalist cabal who treated the president with contempt, dismissed him, snickered at him, and snubbed him, handled him exactly wrong. If you were seeking to talk him into joining the Paris Agreement regarding, climate change, where the president has always been an advocate for more and better science. And I think this effort was further undermined by the White House aide Gary Cohn, who told the New York Post that the president had traveled to Europe to get smart, and that he was open-minded and was looking to be educated by these haughty European jerks.
So these sycophants openly don't even know the kiss of death to sit there and say, oh, the president's going to get smart. I mean, it just shows the pool of garbage he's pulling from.
Well, let's remember Mr. Cohn, a liberal Democrat, formerly of Goldman Sachs. He has close relationships with all of these European financial powers. He owns stock in a Chinese bank that, even though he said weeks ago, I think now months ago, he would dispose of, are still in his portfolio. This is very troubling. I don't really understand why he's there, but nonetheless, the president was less than happy with his remarks. He resented his treatment by the Europeans, and as has been reported, I think broken at Axios, is that the president is going to keep us out of the Paris Agreement, consistent with what he said in the campaign.
By the way, I don't want to give us credit because I'm so busy, I'm not even going to pull them up, but we covered the NSA being used politically during the campaign. We covered it all. Now it's in Axios. Now it's in the New York Post. Obama team tried to hack election illegally with the NSA. They have all the sources. Obama legalized the CIA being involved. He admitted he was involved. I remember them saying, we have intelligence agencies battling the Russians in the campaign. That was their cover. Of course, the Russians, on a Richter scale, are like a 1 compared to a 50 with what the United States can do in elections. The U.S. is famous for manipulating elections, not the Russians, especially since 1991. And so it's just crazy. Here they are, the globalists, through our intelligence agencies, trying to block the Trump election, which totally outweighs any Russian influence that we know is nebulous.
Well, look, this entire trail of fake documents, just because the Russians may have sat around and Boris and Ivan and Igor boasted about everything they would do. Alex, you and I can talk about my winning the PGA, but that doesn't mean I'm going to try it or that it's going to happen.
You didn't know I beat Muhammad Ali in his peak when he was Cassius Clay at heavyweight boxing?
Well, and as we know from the Netflix doc, Get Me Roger Stone, I cradled Robert Kennedy's head while he was dying. The point is that you have a total backfire. Trump keeping faith with the people that elected him. Coming back, the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal have just both speculated on the emergence of David Urban, who is an experienced Washington hand and a particular favorite of the president because of his dog Pennsylvania, which of course broke the back of the Clinton
By the way,
combine.
haven't you mentioned him months and months ago repeatedly on the broadcast as somebody you thought would be good?
I did. Now, let me tell you why I say that. First of all, Urban was the administrative assistant to the meanest, toughest, smartest man who ever served in the U.S. Senate, Senator Arlen Specter. If you can manage Specter, who was a hard-driving, ruthless, ambitious, genial, clever, brilliant lawyer, and for a long period of time, serving on the Senate Intelligence Committee, where Urban had access due to his security clearance, a West Pointer, a man who served his country on the battlefield with distinction. Alex, an altar boy, the son of a card-carrying union member working in the energy industry in Western Pennsylvania, a member of the NRA, and someone who just relentlessly drove the Trump campaign, particularly in Western Pennsylvania, to victory.
Sure, so going back, I mean, they're saying this is the president's top pick right now. Haven't you even been pushing him since the Trump transition, before he even put in Priebus and all the rest of them?
Well, I have always said that there were a handful of people who were pivotal in the campaign, who would be a great credit to this administration.
So this shows a major turn, though, going back to who got him elected, who is loyal, who's dogged, who's smart, who's grassroots, and again, him saying no to the climate deal, which is a global tax. That, I mean, the headline should be Trump panics elites as he makes good on another massive promise.
Well, and I think that the point here is we do not know what job Mr. Urban may emerge with. If you want to know more about him, I basically tell you his story in the Making the President 2016, because with you, Alex, and Matt Drudge and Henry McMaster and many other key operatives, I think, are responsible as MVPs in the Trump election.
Sure, so how close are we to this big shakeup? Because I learned about it 2.5 weeks ago. I called you. You said, yeah, that's spot on. He's really pissed off. And he's sick and tired of all the leaks and everybody trying to block him and the tax cuts. He's really mad about that. So, I mean, how imminent is this, or is the Washington Post wrong?
Well, look, I can't comment on timing, because the president should, really deliberate. I guess all I'm saying is that Urban would be a credit to the remaking of the White House. Also, you have these press reports about former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie coming into the White House kind of like enforcers, like latter-day plumbers to find the leakers and close the leak. This is a terrible idea, Alex. It reminds me of E. Howard Hunt and G. Gordon Liddy. If the president wants to find the leakers, then put a new FBI director in place, someone like Commissioner Ray Kelly.
Well, what about the word that the new war room is going to be run by Bannon?
Well, it's a little unclear. Steve, Steve has not really ever run a campaign. A war room is not really, in my opinion, the answer.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to go back to Roger Stone on this night before Memorial Day. We got to rebroadcast up tomorrow, but I'll be doing live feeds all tomorrow. Wild horses can't drag me away. I'm finally just getting hooked up on Periscope, Facebook mentions, and live YouTube feeds myself. I'm going to get my car rigged up with it, my office, and I'm just going to start going live all the time because I just can't handle it. There's just too much to cover. I'm about to go back to our guest. I don't want to just sit here and blindly support Trump, but I don't know how you couldn't. When he's gotten $3+ trillion in the stock market, $300 billion in new jobs, killed TPP, got a good Supreme Court justice in, overturned all this anti-gun garbage, securing the borders, now illegal immigration is down 73%, I was reading today. And every horrible, evil, globalist organization against him, targeting him with everything they've got, lying everywhere. And then I'm a beneficiary of the same lies. I get to experience a little bit of what Trump gets. So there's a camaraderie, a kinship, a shared battle trench. I've never seen media lie like this. I've never seen bizarro stuff like the FBI former director saying there was a Russian email, so we had to kill the investigation because it was fake. That's obstruction right there. I mean, this is so... I was talking to a top criminal lawyer that does federal cases today, just on another matter, dealing with some family issues, and he said, yeah, no, that's totally criminal. Totally criminal what the FBI director did. And just everything else, it's just stunning that Comey never told Congress about the fake email. That's even the CNN headline. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Just briefly, Memorial Day's here. And it's simple. I'm not a consumerist. I don't just want things because I want things. But I want money, and I want to be able to grow a garden or whatever so that I'm self-sufficient. But I wouldn't sell out for money. But people that are totally obsessed with things, they're dumb. But people that understand that when you support folks that are promoting freedom, that's a good consumerism, especially when it's nutraceuticals, supplements, and things of that nature. You're voting with your dollar to support an organization and a group that's really standing up for your values and freedom and winning. But we're in a desperate battle. It's toe-to-toe. So this is good consumerism. It's real rebellion. It's real aggressive revolutionary action. Most revolutionaries, rob banks and kill people to get money. We're just selling high-quality products the good old-fashioned free market way. We don't get stimulus money like NBC News and, Megyn Kelly come and interview me next week. So, support Patriot Media Memorial Day mega specials now at InfoWarsStore.com for a limited time. Free speech is now being censored across the web, and the independent Patriot Media has come to attack like never before. Today, we are launching our Memorial Day specials at InfoWarsStore.com to help us bring Patriot Media to the next level. Take advantage of these unprecedented specials and help support the tip of the spear in the fight against the globalists. All supplies last. Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver, 65% off retail. Sign up for auto ship, that's $75. We've never offered it that low. I want you to use it. I want you to have it. It's amazing. When I personally got a sore throat, won't go away, antibiotics won't work, I go to the Bullet, and it's worked every time. Cross my fingers, though. I'm scared if it quits working. Man, this country's in trouble. The world's in trouble. Super Male Vitality, been out for months, 30% off. With auto ship, 40%. Survival Shield X2, 40% off. The good halogen. Brain Force, 47%. That's 57 with the auto ship discount. And there's free shipping, by the way, on orders $50 or more. Secret 12, 43% off. It goes on and on. All Trump T-shirts, even though they're selling really good right now, 75% off. That's at cost. So you can promote free speech, meet like-minded people, and stand up to the anti-free speech bullies. We also have the new line of Emmerich's Essentials. That's a big national brand of organics that's sold at Whole Foods. 20% off retail. We've private labeled it. Sign up for auto ship. It's 25% off on top of that. That's 45% because I know it's so good. You'll want to order it every month or every 3 months, every 9 months. You can sign up on auto ship for whenever you want. Cancel anytime. 45% off Emmerich's Essentials, but that's for a limited time. That's going to end soon. I want our hardcore fans, our best supporters that are always there supporting us first, to have this super special up front. So you get a great deal, we get a great deal. I know you're going to want to reorder, so you'll stay on auto ship. It's amazing. 10-to-1 mouthwash for the same cost as a regular bottle. 10-to-1 concentrate, totally organic. But be sure you water it down. It's painful if you don't do it. It's that strong. And then you're financing the revolution against the globalist, and you're winning. InfoWarsStore.com. Get The Making of the President as well by Roger Stone, as well at InfoWarsStore.com. Okay, Roger, you've got the floor. A little bit of time left in this segment, long segment coming up after that. A war room to counter the Russian narrative. What about a war room to counter all the disinfo and lies and promote Trump's real agenda? And what about the fireside chat twice a week? Why has he not done that? That is such a no-brainer.
War room is not an answer to the president's current problems. The best communicator on behalf of Donald Trump has always been Donald Trump. I would suspend the press briefings by a press secretary. Let the president face the press every 10 days or at an interval that he chooses. The vice president could also face the press. He is emerging as a very effective spokesman for the president.
He really is.
I also think, Alex, that to the extent that there needs to be action, it should be done by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Why not a special prosecutor to look into the NSA abuses regarding surveillance of U.S. citizens? Why not a special counsel?
That was my next question. How bombshell is the total admission of illegal spying?
And at the same time, why not a special counsel to look into the crimes of Bill and Hillary Clinton? The Clinton Foundation is not a charity. It's a slush fund for grifters. We know that it's been the vehicle for the facilitation of multi-million-dollar bribes. Newt Gingrich forthrightly said it's time for prosecutorial examination of those issues. This is how the president should get on the offense, because the Clintons, the neocons, the insiders, the Obama crowd particularly, they are behind the illegal leaks. Don't go outside the legal process to catch them and prosecute them. That's what the investigative forces of government are for.
That's right. Now, going back to this big story, we know they use the CIA. We know they use Clapper. That's all come out now to domestically manipulate. That's why they were so scared when Trump won. They knew he'd get into that, so they brought out the Russian narrative. That's now in mainstream news. How are they going to deal with this? I mean, they've got a special investigator on Trump for no reason. It's a dereliction of duty if Sessions doesn't start dropping the hammer here.
Well, look, I was in favor of the appointment of a special counsel in the Russia matter. I have my own issues with Mr. Mueller, but with the spotlight on him and knowing what I believe I know about the case, I think he will come up with no evidence that constitutes treason or illegal activity. In all honesty, I think Jared Kushner is being hung unfairly. There's a media horde now saying he did this, that, and the other thing. We don't know what he's done. He, like any American, deserves his day in court.
But Roger, I have a memory. Trump admittedly was setting up back channels as president-elect. That's totally normal. You've worked for 4 presidents directly. You can Google any president's name and back channel and get NPR, New York Times. They all have back channels. What do you make of CNN's claim there's never been a back channel?
Yeah, that's an absurdity. Obviously, Roosevelt is talking to the Russians through a back channel. We know that John F. Kennedy's talking to Castro through a French writer. He's also reached out through an American diplomat who's fairly down the food chain, who JFK had gone to college with. So there's a norm here. It's certainly within the scope of the president's authority.
That's right. Stay there. StoneColdTruth.com.
To do this.
Stay there,
also,
Roger.
Alex, remember what they say is collusion with the Russians to win the election.
I grew up so sick of hearing how great America was. I thought it was a bunch of arrogance till I traveled the rest of the world. And then I realized, yeah, as bad as we are, we're way above the rest, and it scared me. And I see people all over the world promoting communism and fascism, having no idea how bad it is. It scares me. Roger Stone got cut off. He's joining us via video Skype. He couldn't hear our audio to him. That's why he got cut off. But Roger was making a big point if listeners couldn't hear it there at the end, which I hadn't thought of. It's just hiding in plain view. They've gone from election collusion, which has been disproven, until they've now moved on to there's collusion now with the Russians, and he's not even allowed to meet with the Russians, and he's giving North Korea where our subs are at, and all this made-up BS, and that he's not supposed to talk to the Russians when he's president. I mean, what a Svengali con game, Roger?
Well, Alex, I thought Eli Lake, the journalist, had a terrific take on this, and that is we are hanging General Flynn. We're hanging Jared Kushner for treason when there is no evidence of anything of the kind. And yes, we moved from collusion with the Russians pre-election to what I believe could be a perfectly legal channel of communications between the President of the United States and a nation that has the thermonuclear capability of blowing up our country and half the world.
That's right. He better be talking to them.
You can see, where this is headed. It's part of a political con game in which the mainstream media makes up stories about Trump leaking classified information that had already appeared in hundreds of newspapers. It makes up stories about phony Comey memos that no credible person has seen. A person read this to a reporter.
Oh, by the way, that's my next question.
And the newspaper put it on page 1 of the New York Times.
That's my next question.
Comey is now busted for the politicization of the Hillary email matter driven by what turns out to be a fake intelligence memo, probably written, but not certainly written, by the Russians. You can't make this up. This makes House of Cards look, like a tame comparison.
All right, Roger, we're having some Skype trouble. You probably can't hear me, but if you can hear me now, that's my next question I had for you. What do you make of Comey saying now he threw the Hillary investigation away because of a fake Russian memo that no one can see? Now the FBI tells Congress you can't see the memo that he did in February with Trump, claiming that he was obstructing justice, though Comey's not even claiming that. Plus, May 3rd, he says no one tried to influence him. I mean, Comey is totally discredited. What do you make of this craziness where they won't let Congress see the memo? Talk about rogue agency.
Well, and even the acting attorney general in this matter, Mr. Rosenstein, has said that there is no evidence that the president interfered in any place with the investigation into this essentially contrived fairy tale that was cooked up by John Podesta and then furthered by their allies in the military-industrial complex and in the deep state, in the 17 intelligence agencies that are headed by Barack Obama political appointees, whose assessments are meaningless. In fact, they lack any credibility based on their long-term track record. That is what the precedent is
and by the way, we're not here putting our spin on this. The Democrats are so openly corrupt, so openly lying, so openly manufacturing crap. I mean, this imaginary memo, and they won't give it to Congress. Let's take what Trey Gowdy, who I think is just amazing. I wish he was the new FBI head, and we'll get to that in a moment. He said the day you left office, talking to Brennan, the Wahhabist, you left office, classified information appeared on the front page. So talk about who needs to get in trouble is the arrogant bureaucrats like Hayden and Brennan and Clapper, who are a pack of lying scum. Here it is.
Members, I would point out.
U.S. persons, even within those like yourself and Director Pompeo and Admiral Rogers and Director Comey and the people that we trust with awesome powers, we still impose some restrictions on them, and that they have to request an unmasking. There has to be, I assume, a justification. You can't just wake up in the morning and say, hey, I feel like knowing who participated in X, Y, and Z. There has to be justification, right?
Yes.
All right. So how do we get from that to names being on the front pages of certain major U.S. newspapers?
It's an excellent question.
What would be an equally excellent answer?
That somebody violated their oath to protect classified information and violated that oath and shared that information in an unauthorized fashion with members of the media.
I believe there's some surveillance programs that are up for reauthorization. What would you say to the American people as names are unmasked on the last day that people are in office and classified information appears on the front pages of major U.S. newspapers? How would you tell your constituents, let's reauthorize this program again despite the fact that we have abuses? How help us make that argument when we go home?
Mr. Gowdy, you and your colleagues here are going to have to make that argument based on the merits of the program and the importance of it to our national security, as well as trying to send a reassuring message to them that if there have been any abuses of the accesses to that information, either because of the number of people involved or those who were, in fact, violating their oath of office, that you and your colleagues will do everything possible to make sure you work with the executive branch to minimize and mitigate
Guys, I'm going to stop right here. This is so powerful. The clip's up on InfoWars.com. I'm going to retweet this, too, at Real Alex Jones. Folks should follow us there. Also at Stone Cold Truth. And over in Roger Stone's. But, I mean, that is so powerful with Trey Gowdy going, man, you guys politically are using it as a weapon. And now, again, Roger, it's in the news that they tried to steal the election for Hillary. That's why they're saying Trump's a criminal, because they're the criminals. I mean, they're so arrogant, they've got megalomania. What is their problem?
Alex, it's very hard to understand. Plus, I don't understand why Hayden, Clapper, Brennan, McMaster, and Mattis all have shaved heads. Is this some kind of deep state secret club? Or I really can't quite fathom this. And every one of them has furthered this phony Russian narrative. Mr. Hayden getting busted essentially today. It's really odd the way the deep state has moved aggressively to try to destabilize and delegitimize the president. Now they move to try to compromise him with a phony Russian tale that is pure fantasy, which is fairy tale.
Have they not jumped the shark, though?
I think they have. I mean, look, the president is back. He's had a very successful trip. The Europeans, as we have disclosed here, mishandled him badly. His handlers that hoped to manipulate him into support of these Paris.
What did you make of him? I love when they try to block him. He just bull through him, and I mean, I loved it.
You know, Trump's an American, and he's not going to stop to exchange pleasantries with some, third world leader who probably owes money to NATO. And how about telling the NATO autocrats to their face, pay up, pay up?
I got to tell you, you didn't like some of the Saudi Arabia stuff.
Of good old American balls.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you, but you kind of didn't like the Saudi thing. But when he went and got in their face and said radical Islam, Islamic terror to their face when they said don't do it, to their face, I mean, that was pretty powerful.
Well, but I guess let me clarify this, Alex. When the president first met the Saudis, you noticed that he did not bow, as Obama did. Then his handlers put him in a position to be with a photo taken where he's getting the highest possible award.
And he had to curtsy because the guy was shorter than him.
That they're kissing his derriere, and they allow him to be photographed leaning over. The president's a very tall man. It's part of his leadership mystique. Let the king stand on a couple boxes or a riser if he wants to award our president. I think this is Reince Priebus and the advanced staffs. Mike Deaver, who handled Ronald Reagan, would never have allowed the president to be photographed like that.
Well, he didn't bow. He curtsied.
Right. But look, I think that he is a man of elementary manners, and he understands the high stakes.
No,
here.
totally, absolutely. He had the king short. He had to get bound. The point is that they're waiting. They're trying to set it up. Do you think Saudi Arabia was behind the bombing in Manchester, or is this their own internal groups battling?
It's very hard to say because there's so much subterfuge, and the Saudis are serial liars. They feed the most virulent sect of Islam, Wahhabism. They obviously the majority of the hijackers are Saudis. There's a group of Saudis training in Sarasota, Florida, that to fly planes into buildings, which comes to the attention of Governor Jeb Bush, who does nothing. The riddles about 9/11 and all these terrorist activities.
Well, here's the good news. You're going to be here tomorrow night.
To unravel.
That's right. Roger Stone's going to be here tomorrow night, in studio co-hosting on Tuesday. Roger, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks to the audience. Thanks to the crew. Have a great Memorial Day coming up. God bless all those that gave the ultimate sacrifice for the Republic.